There is a valley in central Norway where unexplained lights have been appearing since at least the 1930s. Not occasionally, not once a year. At their peak, 20 times a week. Scientists noticed. They launched a formal investigation in 1983. They set up radar, electromagnetic sensors, cameras, a permanent automated monitoring station that has been running continuously since 1998. They have peer-reviewed papers. They have radar confirmation. They have electromagnetic data that proves the lights are physical objects generating real energy. After 40 years of documented scientific investigation, they cannot tell you what it is. This is the Hessdalen phenomenon, and it is one of the most rigorously studied unexplained events in modern science. Hessdalen is a remote farming valley in the Røros region of central Norway, about 75 miles south of Trondheim. 12 kilometers long, surrounded by mountains, sparsely populated. A place most Norwegians have never visited and most of the world has never heard of. Reports of strange lights in the valley go back to at least the 1930s. Locals described white and yellow orbs hovering above the ridgelines. Objects that sat completely stationary for minutes, then moved at speeds no aircraft could match. Lights that appeared in clear weather with no obvious source. For decades it stayed local. Farmers and residents reporting things they couldn't explain. The kind of story that doesn't travel far. Then came December 1981. The frequency of sightings accelerated dramatically. Within weeks, the valley was experiencing lights multiple times per day. Residents were alarmed. Local newspapers ran stories. The reports were consistent enough and numerous enough that they couldn't be dismissed as misidentification. By 1984, the valley had logged over 1,000 documented observations in a 3-year period, peaking at 15 to 20 sightings per week. Not by fringe enthusiasts. By ordinary people living in the valley who were describing the same phenomena with remarkable consistency. The Norwegian scientific community took notice. In 1983, a group of Norwegian scientists launched Project Hessdalen, a formal scientific investigation funded in part by the Norwegian Defense Research Establishment and the University of Oslo. They went into the valley with instrumentation, radar, magnetometers, spectrum analyzers, cameras, seismographs. They set up monitoring stations and waited. They didn't wait long. Within the first field campaign, they confirmed what the locals had been reporting. The lights were real. They appeared on radar, independently of visual sightings, meaning they weren't optical illusions or atmospheric refraction. They were physical objects producing radar returns, consistent with solid mass. The electromagnetic data was equally clear. When the lights appeared, monitoring equipment detected measurable disturbances in the local electromagnetic field. Radio equipment experienced interference. Compasses behaved erratically. The objects were generating or interacting with electromagnetic energy in a way that left a measurable physical signature. The lights themselves varied. White and yellow were most common. Occasionally blue. Some appeared as single-point sources. Others were described and photographed as elongated or structured, emitting light in patterns inconsistent with a simple plasma ball. Some were estimated to be as large as a car. A few were significantly larger. Their behavior was the hardest part to account for. They hovered motionless for extended periods. They accelerated suddenly to high speeds, estimated in some documented cases at thousands of kilometers per hour, with no visible propulsion, no sonic boom, no exhaust signature. They changed direction at angles that would be physically impossible for any known aircraft. Project Hessdalen published its findings. The lights were confirmed as a real physical phenomenon. The cause was undetermined. In the decades since the initial investigation, researchers from Norway, Italy, France, and the United States have contributed studies attempting to explain the Hessdalen phenomenon. A permanent automated monitoring station was installed in 1998. Cameras, radar, radio receivers, and sensors running continuously. It still operates today. The current frequency has dropped significantly from the 1981 to 84 peak. The valley now logs roughly 20 observations per year. The station captures them. 3 main hypotheses have been seriously proposed. None has survived full scrutiny. The first is plasma, specifically that the valley's unique geology creates conditions for naturally occurring plasma orbs. Hessdalen sits on a geological fault line rich in sulfide mineral deposits. The theory suggests the chemical interactions between the sulfuric compounds in the rock, the mineral content of the valley's water, and atmospheric conditions could generate electrostatic energy capable of sustaining visible plasma formations. The plasma hypothesis is the most credible partial explanation. It accounts for the light emission. It accounts for the electromagnetic interference. What it doesn't account for is the behavior: hovering, accelerating, changing direction. Natural plasma doesn't navigate. It doesn't hold coherent form for minutes at a time. It doesn't appear on radar as a structured object. The second hypothesis, proposed in 2010 and briefly declared a solution by Norwegian media, was combustion of airborne mining dust. The valley had historical mining activity. The theory was that metallic particles suspended in the air were igniting spontaneously. It collapsed quickly. The mining activity ended decades before the peak sightings. The lights continue today with no active mining source. The third is ball lightning, a rare, poorly understood atmospheric phenomenon involving short-lived plasma spheres associated with electrical storms. Ball lightning is itself not fully explained by physics. It has never been documented lasting more than a few seconds. Hessdalen lights have been observed for minutes at a time, in clear weather, with no associated storm activity. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Applied Geophysics added a new angle, VLF electromagnetic survey data from the valley, showing subsurface geological activity that correlates with light appearance patterns. The geology is clearly involved. The mechanism remains unidentified. Most coverage of Hessdalen focuses on what the lights look like. There's a detail in the scientific record that gets far less attention. In documented observations, the lights have displayed what researchers describe as apparent reactive behavior. Multiple witnesses, including scientists present during field investigations, have reported that the lights appeared to respond to stimuli. When observers aimed flashlights at the objects and flashed them in specific patterns, the lights flashed back in corresponding sequences. This happened on more than one occasion during documented field sessions. This is not in the fringe literature. It is in the scientific reports from Project Hessdalen. Researchers have been careful not to overinterpret it. The official position is that the reactive behavior could be coincidental, the lights changing on their own cycle that happen to align with the flashing. That is a reasonable scientific caution. What it cannot do is explain away the data. The lights flashed back. It happened. It's in the record. There is also the matter of the structured light emissions. Several documented observations and photographs show the objects emitting light in organized, non-random patterns, beams, geometric configurations, directional pulses. Natural plasma doesn't produce structured emissions. Ball lightning doesn't produce geometric light patterns. The scientific literature describes the Hessdalen phenomenon as an anomalous atmospheric luminous phenomenon, a category that essentially means we know it's real, we know it's physical, and we don't have a model that fully accounts for it. Hessdalen is not the only place on Earth where this kind of phenomenon has been documented. Similar unexplained light phenomena have been reported above fault lines and mineral-rich geological formations in multiple countries, in the United States, in Japan, in Australia. The geological connection is consistent enough that some researchers believe Hessdalen represents an extreme version of a poorly understood class of natural phenomena tied to specific subsurface conditions. If that's true, if there is a natural mechanism that produces self-sustaining, electromagnetically active, apparently structured plasma objects capable of sustained flight and directional movement, that mechanism isn't in any physics textbook. And if it's not natural, the question that nobody in the scientific literature will directly state, but that the data keeps pointing toward, then 40 years of radar confirmation, electromagnetic measurement, and peer-reviewed research has been quietly documenting something that has no category at all. A valley in Norway. Lights appearing since the 1930s. A scientific investigation running since 1983. Radar data. Electromagnetic confirmation. Peer-reviewed publications. A permanent monitoring station still recording today. 20 observations a year. Every one of them unexplained. The scientists haven't stopped looking. They just haven't found an answer that fits all the data. Drop a comment. Natural phenomenon or something else?